I guess it's a known fact among my friends and family and those who see me on television that I like to cook. Take a look at me and it's pretty obvious. Salt is one of the most interesting elements that we cook with because the tiniest bit too much spoils everything, and yet the right amount makes everything taste great. It does so much good, but there's that capacity to spoil as well. That's so important in our lives that if we are salt, we have to figure out how to use that gift to the best of our abilities. The gospel talks about utilizing ourselves and the gifts that we've been given by God and recognizing that a little bit might not be enough. Too much perhaps can be stifling, but to use the gifts we've been given to the right degree so that that balance is perfect, so that what we preach is true and what we live is real. There are three things that Jesus talks about in the gospel. First, our hands, the important work that we do with our hands, that they can be tools of violence, they can be tools of destruction, and they can be tools of love and consolation. They can be tools which minister in so many different ways. I think about these hands sometimes. I think about the times that I have touched people and blessed them. Think about the times I've been privileged enough to baptize a child with these hands. Yeah, our hands do so much good, and yet they can be the source of violence. We're called to recognize that balance that we need with our hands, to recognize the power for good, to bring that taste of life, if you will, to its fruition. Our eyes, how our eyes can so easily be distracted from God, how our eyes can so easily wander in this world, how our eyes can lead us to sin in so many ways. Can we recognize the focus that is necessary for our eyes, the focus that we need day in and day out for our eyes? It doesn't take much for us to be unfocused, does it? If I just do this, I am automatically unfocused. I'm automatically not able to see as clearly as I once did. Yes, we need eyes that see. We need eyes that see clearly the presence of God in this world, to recognize, as those disciples did on the road to Emmaus, that he walks with us, so that our hearts may burn within us. Our feet, that we go to places of holiness, that we go and walk the road with Jesus and recognize the power of where we go, carrying the gospel in our lives. Sometimes we're called to places perhaps we don't want to go. We don't want to go to chemotherapy. We don't want to go to radiation. We don't want to go to places of pain or suffering. And yet, part of our lives, and we see this in every church we gather in, is the way of the cross. Part of our lives, in the midst of a church surrounded with an altar, is the way of the cross that reminds us that our feet must walk in that direction as well, must walk through suffering, must walk through some pain. We're called to be salt. Salt brings flavor out. Salt adds so much to what we do. It makes life interesting, makes life tasty. It helps us to recognize that there's more than we thought to what we are doing. Let's be salt with our hands, with our eyes, and with our feet, that we can live the gospel, preach the gospel, and challenge others to join us in this great meal of allowing that gospel to be real in this world.